What will you discover at Luray Caverns? From the tippy tops of their ropes course, breathtaking views of the Shenandoah Valley, from deep down below in the caverns, wonder and awe from all the formations built over billions of years. And in the spaces in between, you can walk through history, see the evolution of the automobile, and even meet the mayor of Toy Town Junction. Open 365 days a year, discover the perfect holiday adventure the whole family will love at Luray Caverns. Plan your trip at LurayCaverns.com. Today on CityCast Philly, the Philadelphia Inquirer's first annual list of the essential places to eat in Philly is here. They've got spots with amazing vibes to classics that have been around forever. There's neighborhood places to restaurants you could probably only afford once a year. I'm speaking with two food editors from the team that put together this list of 76 places we should all be eating at right now. It's Tuesday, November 12th. I'm Trenae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Margaret Ebi, Deputy Food Editor at the Philadelphia Inquirer, and Matt Buchanan, Food Editor at the Philadelphia Inquirer. Thank you both so much for being here on CityCast Philly. What was the idea here? You state very clearly at the top of the list that this is not a best of list. So what is it?
So we already have an annual top 10 list that our critic Craig Laban does. That is the best in the city. But when we were approaching what we wanted the list to look like, we didn't want it to necessarily be what everyone thinks is the best food, but rather the places that explain why Philly is such a interesting and diverse dining destination. These kind of lists tend to have the same restaurants over and over again. In fact, like when we sat down for our initial meeting, I think we reeled off some like 50 or 60 of them immediately. And what distinguishes this list from a lot of them like it is it was an enormous project of reportage. We had an initial list of something like 300 restaurants, and we sent people out to eat at almost every single one of them, barring some closures and things like that. I personally ate at, I think, 43 restaurants in 6 weeks.
Yeah, because I was curious about this journalism work, because Margaret, is it true that you ate 73 plates of pasta during this adventure? And Matt, you had 70 slices of pizza? I mean, that seems like a lot of carbs if you add it all up together.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, at this point, in order to achieve this and not physically die, I had like at least 3 bites of each of these plates of pasta. But I brought a lot of friends with me. And I think Matt had a similar approach with the pizza. It's not like he ate whole pizzas.
Or did you?
No, I had one slice of every pie I got. And at every place, I usually got multiple pies. And then, you bring people and then you send them home with leftover pizzas. So, but it's definitely not a clean your plate exercise, which I think when you're getting into like reviewing food and that kind of thing, that is definitely something like, if you've grown up with that mentality, like I think, a lot of us have, like you have to get rid of that very quickly or you will not last very long.
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall during the brainstorming session because, I mean, were there great debates among the team or was there like a general consensus like, okay, these are the 76 essential places to eat in Philly?
Definitely debates. I mean, I think one of the things I would, say is like, we published the list online in the middle of October. The print issue comes out November 14th. And we've already had some feedback on it. The feedback's been really great. But like one thing that we've seen in terms of like the bifurcation of feedback is you have some people who are very grateful and very glad to see suburbs places on the list. New Jersey actually has a pretty strong representation right now. Because the restaurant scene there is just really good at the moment, and Haddonfield and Collingswood in particular. But then you have people who wish the list was Philly only, But the list really covers like the entire market that the Inquirer serves. So, it goes up into all the suburbs counties, Montco, Delco, Bucks County, and then into Jersey. We only left off the Jersey Shore, partly because it gets its own entire guide every year
Okay.
in the summer. But we really try to cover the entire region, which is one of the reasons like why the list felt so tight as we were making it, which also meant like there was a ton of debate. There were some things that like there was agreement on to some degree, but even within that, we had a rule where only one restaurant per chef or owner. So, there's only one restaurant from like Define Hospitality, which owns like Pizzeria Padilla and Kalia and Soraya and Picnic. There's like one restaurant from Michael Salamanov, even though obviously he has a number of hits, because we wanted to really, as best we can, represent as much of the city as we could.
So if you could give a grade for, I'll say, our region's food culture, what grade would you give it? Is it pretentious? Is it easygoing? Or is it both?
I think it has everything. This is sort of the glory of the scene as we go. The range of what we have to offer is really stunning, which is another reason why we wanted it to be vital places. So not just like fine dining places that you can eat once a year, but like the corner sandwich place that's really great. Or an example that's close to my heart, there's an Ethiopian fried chicken spot.
I know what you're going to say.
Exactly.
Dorabet.
Yeah, in West Philly. And I don't know that it is going to end up on national lists, but it's so good and it's so particularly Philly. Ethiopian fried chicken, not a thing in Ethiopia, but the second gen Ethiopian restaurateur does a fabulous job and that makes like an incredible sandwich. And also low-key, one of the best tiramisu that I had. And I had so many tiramisu. So one of the ways that we split up this vast number of restaurants is we assign people kind of genres. So mine was Italian.
Okay.
I don't know if you know this about Philadelphia, but there are a lot of Italian restaurants here.
Really? There are?
I know you'll be shocked to hear that. And I will say, universally, I found the red gravy places so delightful. Like, I always had a really good time. But when I was comparing head to head food wise, I was like, oh, guys, I'm really sorry. There are things Villa de Roma does really, really well, to be clear. First of all, meatballs, incredible. Again, I'm going to say tiramisu. Sorry to be a broken record. And I will also say, like, the vibes are absolutely unmatched. You go into the Italian market, you can roll in with a crew, you can get a little bit rowdy.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I did these dinners, I tried to bring at least one person, but ideally more like three, so you can really eat through the menu. And I think I went to Villa de Roma with a crew of 4 people. We had a wonderful time. I personally am a cackler. Like, if I'm at a dinner and I hear a good joke, I'm going to laugh really loud.
Mm-hmm.
And there are places I went where I was like, oh, I'm too loud for this place. And you do not feel like that at Villa de Roma. So props where it's due. But I do think one of the real incredible things about Philly is how thick on the ground we have just these corner Italian places. And it was really a privilege to get to eat a lot of them that I wouldn't have otherwise eaten at. And my very favorite, and this was hugely controversial when I first brought it into the room.
Okay, I'm excited.
My favorite of this category was Skinnicchio's, which is a kind of, if you know, South Philly red gravy, post red gravy spot. It hits every single classic that you wanted to hit. Like, we're talking incredible veal parm. We're talking wonderful penne alla vodka. We're talking, Clams Casino, by far the best Clams Casino I've had in the city, maybe ever. And also this kind of no nonsense atmosphere where it's like a little bit luxurious, but it's kind of a weekday luxurious. You wouldn't feel bad going in there if you were just like rolling straight in yoga leggings, which is, I'm sure, what I did. And the service there is perfect in that they're very good, but they treat you like kind of a no nonsense uncle, right? Like, I remember I ordered something and the guy's like, I mean, you could get that, but it's July. Why aren't you getting the caprese? The caprese is where it's at. And I was like, You know what? Yeah, you're right. Like,
I like that.
Normally, yeah. Normally I'm like, excuse me, I'm like a food person. No. But they're always just like, yeah, like this dude knows what he's talking about. And he was right. When it came to the table, I was like, this is perfect. I'm so glad I got a caprese instead of a Caesar salad.
It's good that you trusted his expertise.
Yeah.
There's nothing like mountains of hot pasta in the middle
Oh my
of
God.
July.
It was really the summer of red sauce. It was a very intense July. Shout out to all the many wonderful people who joined me on this journey.
So close your eyes and think about all the pizza and pasta you had. If you could give a grade of Philly's food culture, give me a letter grade.
Yeah, it's an A.
Yeah, it's for sure an A.
Easy A.
Matt and I both have, experience with the New York scene and like New Orleans. For me, we both grew up in the South. I gotta say, Philly has some of the most exciting, delicious food. Also, obviously, a huge range in price, but like generally, you can go and eat somewhere really good, and it's not hideously expensive every time. I think I'm always kind of evangelizing the Philly scene to my friends in New York and LA, and I think they're like, yeah. But we have a perception that this is like sandwiches and Italian food. And yes, I ate so much Italian food, but there is like an incredible range out there for anyway. If you want to get Malaysian rendang, if you want to get like unbelievable banh mi, if you are into like steak, there's an incredible steakhouse. I think we just really hit it on all cylinders here.
When we come back, we'll dish on some more spots on the list.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Wishing for a body wash made with natural ingredients? Dr. Squatch has got you covered. Manly scents that make you irresistible, a thick lather that leaves your skin moisturized all day. No matter what you're looking for in a body wash, rest assured, Dr. Squatch is your best bet. Pick up one today in store or at drsquatch.com. It's Dr. Squatch Body Wash for men who prefer natural.
So how many reporters actually helped put together this whole list?
There are 11 credited bylines on it, including me and Margaret's. But we also, had other people's, input, like we had a spreadsheet. We asked contributors we trust. And, the hope is next year to have even more. That's my big ambition.
What's maybe the most surprising mention in this list where readers maybe didn't know or expect would be there?
Skidegio's over Villa de Roma, I think, is a surprise because Villa de Roma is like so the consensus pick. Westchester is the best pizza. I think annoyed some people because it's like an hour outside of the city, but Westchester is a suburb, and I think the pizza is that good.
I think more than what's on it, a lot of people were surprised that they didn't know every restaurant on the list, which we are proud of. Obviously, we did a lot of work to dig up things that aren't necessarily on every list. The feedback I got that was very positive was that people were really excited to learn about new places that they hadn't tried or weren't aware of, both in the suburbs and in the city. And also, there are many excellent restaurants who didn't make the list, but a lot of them are places that people already knew about. In fact, there were so many restaurants that didn't make the list, and some which the reporters were incredibly passionate about, including myself, that we have a whole list of dissents that's attached to the 76, where individually we made our argument for why a particular restaurant was worth a spot on the list, even though it didn't get it.
For example, you have Park, the iconic Steven Starr spot on Rittenhouse Square, which, funny enough, I recently went to for brunch for the first time. I've been a Philly girl all my life. So that was surprising. But why didn't that make the list?
Okay, so Park is an institution and Steven Starr is a huge restaurateur, right? Like he obviously has done an enormous amount of work to shape what the Philly scene looks like right now. And so many of the restaurants on the list are alums in some way of Steven Starr. I think what we were judging and what it kept coming back to is who is the most relevant to the scene right now, like in 2024. What are the places that are most interesting, surprising, relevant, vital to Philly? Starr is such a lodestar. You know, he's opening a brand new place that we're all really excited about. And I will say that was one of the most passionate arguments we had in the room. Like I said, the new Starr spot we all have on our radar and we're all really excited to check out. It was just like a matter of criteria.
Can you tell us about that one?
Borromini, I think, is his forthcoming spots. I think it's tapped for this coming spring. It's a big, splashy sort of return to form for him. Obviously, he's opened other restaurants in Philly in recent years, but like nothing quite at that level or with that level of grandeur. Like, but if you look at like where his energy is right now or where it has been, it's been in New York, it's been in Miami, it's been in DC, right? But Borromini seems like it's going to be like a real return to form. And so it's something that like we're all very, very excited about for this coming year.
Is there a restaurant that readers complained the most about because it wasn't on the list?
I would say also a lot of people love Soraya, which is also excellent. That kind of got knocked out by our one restaurant per owner or group rule. But Soraya is also like a really fun and interesting place. I think Matt and I were very braced for impact when the list landed, and I think, but it's kind of excited about it too because we want feedback. We want to hear like people's favorites that got left off the list, or what's interesting and new that we didn't touch. And I feel like some people, their engagement is just like, you idiots. And fine, that always happens on the internet. But a lot of what we've gotten is interesting and informative arguments about why a spot should be on the list or like why we should reconsider it. And we take all that into consideration when we're reformulating our approach for next year while we're currently resting our stomachs. Yeah.
Yep.
For sure. What I love about this is that if you scroll on the website, it's such a beautiful presentation. You get to see where the restaurant is located, like the maps view. Is there a neighborhood in the city that has the best restaurants?
I will say, I think one of the things that was surprising after we put it together was like South Jersey was a really strong restaurant corridor. Like the representation there is quite strong. I think that might be a surprise for some people.
I mean, certainly Kensington, like that sort of area, there's a lot going on there too.
West Philly, there's a ton of stuff in West Philly. There's a huge stretch because we've got Sods, we've got Doro Bats, we've got a handful of other places. So West Philly's like got good representation on the list as well. But yeah, it's like there's the nice thing about Philly is like there are tons of neighborhoods where you're gonna have amazing restaurants.
The Collingswood example is really funny too because two of our picks, like Zeppoli, which was an Italian spot, incredible, one of mine, is right across the street from Le Beirut. And I think one of the things that's interesting that's happening is because a lot of chefs end up living out in Collingswood, there's a lot of great and interesting food out there right now. And that's true, like, again, right now as of 2024. And one of the more interesting things about making this map is that as we keep doing it year after year, we can see how those hotspots kind of shift throughout the city.
Right.
Yeah, like I know like this very beloved BYOB fond just that couple just moved that restaurants up in the northern suburbs. So I think, we're going to continue to see more and more of that as chefs who lived in the city, like made their bones here, move out to the suburbs, they have families, that kind of thing, and like start opening there as well. So I think we're going to continue to see more and more exciting stuff happening like in the suburbs, like all around the region, really.
Okay. And speaking of BYOBs, like what's Philly's BYOB scene? It's thriving, right?
Oh yeah, tons of the restaurants on this list are BYO.
There was like 26 BYOBs on the list.
There's just a ton of them. Like, I think, and I think that scene will continue to thrive just because it's so hard and so expensive to get a liquor license because of the way the laws are structured. So, new restaurants, especially from up and coming chefs who are doing innovative things, like they're probably going to continue to be BYOBs unless the laws change. So I don't see that changing anytime soon. Although there's interesting stuff happening. We have some pieces coming on this about like loopholes happening with the laws allowing some restaurants to be like more creative with how they're approaching their, like I think Gabriella's Vietnam, I think just launched a booze program with this new distillery license situation.
Right. The other member of our team, who the other reporter on this is our reporter, Jen Ladd, who is a features reporter, and she has her nose in everything, but particularly in the booze scene in Philly. She's been following it really closely. And one of the more interesting loopholes is the distillery loophole, wherein if you are making alcohol on premises, you can get special dispensation. So there's been kind of a little bit of a boom in terms of these new tasting rooms and bars. There's also special licenses you can get at a restaurant if you're only serving things that are made in Pennsylvania, for example. I think the BYO culture has no threat of shutting down. Like, it's another reason why eating here is so accessible, because you bring in your own wine, right? Like, you don't need to worry about that. One of the things that impresses me the most is under such restrictive blue laws, how we also managed to have really interesting cocktail programs and really interesting approaches to serving booze with dinner that all these restaurants came to, whether it's like a BYO or whether it's, something that's like the incredible cocktail program that a Friday, Saturday, Sunday has, wherein they just introduced a whole wheel based on the Fibonacci sequence that you can spin and land on a drink of your choice. Just really cool things.
Sounds fun.
And yeah, it's great. There's so many interesting innovations, I think, when it comes to adding booze on the menu, having it as an option, even with these sort of restrictive licensings.
All of this seems so overwhelming to keep in your head. But Matt, in your letter from the editor, you posed the question, what does it mean for a restaurant to not just be great, but essential, right? That's the key question here. Is it the food? Is it the innovations that Margaret's talking about? Is it the stories behind all of the food?
I think it really is going to depend on each restaurant, right? I mean, I think the story is really so much of what it comes down to, because I think when you really think about the restaurants that you feel like you can't imagine not being there, tomorrow or next week or whatever, like typically like there is some story with it, right? Whether it's something that's been around for 50 years, or something that, opened last month, right? Like Little Walters is something that's like very new, but he's like really redefining what like Polish cuisine could be. And there's like a really compelling story about that, when you situate it in sort of the historic context of that neighborhood and, the decline of that. Like there aren't as many restaurants doing that kind of cooking anymore, with a handful of exceptions like Dinner House, right? And then you've got something like John's Roast Pork, which has obviously been there for almost 100 years, but in the last 20 years or so has really become known as more of a cheesesteak place. But it still sort of maintains its ties to like the rail yards and like that sense of being a place for like working people, right? So I think like stories are really the things that define a restaurant in terms of like, it's not just a great place to go, but it's something that like is really, a part of the city, a part of the community.
Where should readers and eaters start when looking at this list?
Well, we have it divided up in a way that's we have a couple of different sections to sort of help people out. Like if they're looking for splurges, that's a section. We have a list for like new restaurants. We have a list for places that are on their way to becoming institutions. We have these sort of broad categories that'll hopefully help people out. But then we've also got filters for neighborhood, for cuisine, for pricing. That was actually one of the really big things I had wanted with this list. This is just the first part of how we're relaunching the food section over the next few months. So we'll be doing more maps.
Oh, I like that.
I know some people ask where's the Philly only map? We'll be doing neighborhood specific maps. We'll be doing ones in Philly, in the suburbs for different foods, cuisines, etc. So all that's coming. We definitely want feedback on how we can make it more usable and more useful for people, because we do want it to be a tool people can sort of turn to again and again.
I got to go back to that question that I asked y'all. What neighborhood has the best food?
So Matt is not going to answer this because he's very diplomatic, but I live in West Philly, so I say West Philly.
Right. Margaret and Matt, thank you so much for chatting with me on CityCast Philly.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having us.
Check out the Enquirer's full list of 76 essential places to eat in the print edition of the paper this Thursday. We also have a link in our show notes to both the list and every single restaurant mentioned in the show. That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. Listen, if you enjoyed this episode of the 76 most essential places to eat in the city, tell a friend and make those reservations. Rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.